our local issue involving our Metro Council, our mayor, Freddie O'Connell, in Davidson County, and recent events involving Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Tennessee Highway Patrol. To speak on these matters, we welcome back to the show our good friend, Metro Councilor, one of the sane ones. She is Courtney Johnston, and she joins us in studio.
Hello.
How are you?
I am well.
Yeah? What's your take on all this?
It's just exhausting, honestly. I still don't think, and you can correct me because I think you're following it like up to the minute. I don't think we still know who has been detained and for what purpose. But and so having such a reaction has been. I've got no words, really. It's bizarre.
Well, and I'm not. I'll throw stones. I'm not asking you to throw stones at your fellow counselors necessarily, unless you want to. But it feels like there are. I guess we're getting publicly a little taste of what you get on a regular basis, because it feels like some on the Metro Council don't believe that we should have borders. I mean, like when Jenny Welsh says, and I mean, I'll use her as an example because I saw her last night, when she says no human being is illegal, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, to me, I think where she's going is maybe a semantics. Like the person isn't illegal, but they are here illegally. So I don't know. I mean, it's just.
Well, if you don't want me to call them illegal aliens, that's fine.
Right.
But
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it just. I'm going to be supportive of any effort that gets criminals off of our street, whether they are legal, illegal, from the moon. I don't care. And so until I know who was detained and for what purpose, I'm not going to get all, in my feelings about it. It's they're doing their job. What alarms me is the fact that some of these council members feel like they have some sort of authority over ICE, where they're following them around. And I think she said something like, I don't think it's very wise to brake check a Metro Council member. It's like ICE does not care. One,
they don't know that you're a Metro Council member. No, number two, I think, are you talking about
Sepulveda?
And I'm mispronouncing her name, but I don't care.
Okay.
Really. Sepulveda? Mm-hmm. Sandra Sepulveda, District 30 Metro Councilor, was on Instagram over the last 24 hours filming what she said was an ICE van, following that ICE van around, identifying where the ICE van was going for all to see on her Instagram account. And is that not a violation of U.S. Code 8, Section 1324? Tom Homan talks about this code all the time. It is illegal to aid and abet illegal aliens in this country. You can do nothing, but you cannot actively assist them in getting away from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And I'm wondering if this is not crossing the line.
I don't know. That's what I wondered when I saw that this morning. And then or I was notified about it this morning. And then I guess she was following them yesterday as well. I just thought she's going to get herself arrested. I don't know what the point is here. She's not going to stop this from happening. I don't understand the point. Unless it's just performative, which we've got lots of representatives that are performative on the local, state, and federal level.
We got a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
We got a lot of that going on. Mm-hmm. So tell me about, what do you know about, and Ken Weaver's been reporting on some of this, and I don't know anything about it. So an executive order that Freddie O'Connell apparently signed in January of last year, determining that any communication with I think I have this right, that any Metro Nashville Police Department communication with Immigration and Customs Enforcement has to be
anytime
told to the mayor's office?
Yes. Anytime MNPD has any interaction with ICE, it has to be reported to the mayor. Now, that's been longstanding. That wasn't Freddie's idea. He may have just reauthorized the executive order. I'm told it's executive order 30. Yeah. What I don't understand is that's not who called for security. So our DEC employee did nothing wrong and didn't fail to follow the executive order, because ICE did not call. Homeland Security did not call. They were from Federal Protective Services, which really their only job is to secure the building. So they were concerned that there would be some retaliation at that facility, and were just requesting extra patrols in the area for like once an hour for basically a 24-hour period.
So is Freddie, I mean, I don't know. Is Mayor O'Connell suggesting that had he knowledge of this, that he would have denied the opportunity to secure that facility through Metro Nashville Police?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I can't tell you what Freddie would have done or not done. Excuse me, Mayor O'Connell, but I really don't know. This is the other thing, that it's a false sense of power when we're making it seem to people that Metro can do anything about this. There's nothing that Metro can say or do that is going to stop ICE from carrying out what their job is. You can be upset about it. You can disagree with it. But the mayor can't say, no, you're not doing this. Now, to your point, he could have said, MNPD don't respond to that. I think that would be very unwise. And I don't know the extent to which MNPD has to comply with that, because their job is to provide safety and security to the public. So I don't know. The whole thing is so convoluted.
They're acting as if, and I would note, it's my understanding the way that this worked is that the Tennessee Highway Patrol communicated with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and they said, we're going to do a safety sweep on state roads in Nashville where we believe there's gang-related activity, where we believe that there might be illegal aliens. And based on that belief and the possibility that we might encounter people without documentation, ICE, y'all come along, and if we encounter those people, we're going to hand them off to you. That is my understanding.
Okay.
All of which is perfectly legal.
Sure.
And truly has nothing to do with the city of Nashville.
Right. And MNPD was not involved at all. They didn't ask, nor did they need any assistance.
Well, my question, and look, we just had Freddie on. I get him about every 2 months, every 3 months, so I don't expect to get him anytime soon, especially on this subject. But my question to Mayor O'Connell would be, why weren't they involved? Like, explain to me why you wouldn't want Metro Nashville police officers involved in what is ultimately getting criminals off the streets. Why you would specifically... Why your purpose for holding a press conference less than 24 hours after you found out about this? I mean, you're Johnny on the spot on that. You can't get LPR contracts to the Metro Council, but boy, you can sure get a press conference together to make sure that we know that Metro Nashville had nothing to do with this. Why was it so important? And I know I mean, these are almost rhetorical questions to you, but why was it so important for Freddie to say that to the public?
I really don't know. I think because there was such an outcry, it was probably important for him to address the people that he represents. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But to say that, this is unwelcoming and this is this and that, and, I just think that sends the wrong message. Look, the biggest concern, you can look on any social media. I get calls about it, emails about it constantly. The concern is about public safety in this town. And so any effort that aims to remove criminals from our communities, I think we should be supporting. So it's just, I guess it's just a difference in philosophy. I don't know.
So
I will say all those things, they didn't use LPRs to pull them over or, because that's,
that doesn't. And by the way, I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on today was, in addition to talking about this, Mayor O'Connell doubled down on the idea that nobody's waiting on him. He says that it's so disingenuous. And we got into a little bit of
I heard.
Yeah, so he says that no, the Metro Council, they're not waiting on him. And he doubled down on this idea of if the council were to vote today, they wouldn't have approved.
He's right.
LPRs, but they're not voting today. They voted, 2 years ago?
The last time we voted on LPRs was the resolution after the 6-month pilot that was proven to be very successful to allow for the permanent installation of this program. And that was in, I think, late summer, early fall of 23.
I asked him specifically, I said, Freddie, if you were making the decision and you alone, would we have LPRs in Nashville? And at first he didn't want to answer the question. Then he said yes. He said we would. Well, then why isn't he bringing contracts to the Metro Council? He says it's because he can't get them through. I accused him of poor leadership because if a leader wants to get something done, do you not go to your council and say, hey, let's talk about how we get this done?
Well, that's one of the frustrations, is that it seems he does not have any influence over this council, where I know that, in my experience, the Cooper administration did. They could get some things done. They could have conversations and bring people around. I was told he had conversations around Fusus anyway, which they're not the same, but the mentality against these things is sort of the same and from the same people. And so I was told he had conversations with every no vote and did not flip one vote. So that's frustrating, but we do not have the votes right now. We do not. If he was to bring the contracts right now, those contracts would most definitely fail. My problem is that if this was a year and a half ago when he first took office and could have brought those contracts then, I think we would have had a better shot, certainly, of getting Fusus and probably LPRs too. And so the delay is absolutely his fault. And all of that was under the premise that he wanted to wait until, on any controversial matter, until after the transit referendum passed. And so that was in November.
I was about to say, check me on this, Courtney.
Yeah.
It's been December, January, February, March, April.
Yeah. He also wants to amend the policy on LPRs. He keeps on saying, well, if we can get our policy framework, it's like, what? No. We have a policy framework. We contemplated that for almost 2 years, and the policy passed in 2022. We have a policy. We don't need your policy, whatever your amendments are to the existing policy.
What was I know that you were not a part of it because this was some sort of subcommittee. It was not the Council of the Whole.
Correct. It was the Public Safety Committee.
What was they had an emergency meeting last evening. Mm-hmm. To your understanding, what was the purpose of the meeting?
I think the purpose of the meeting was to give council members the opportunity to ask questions of the police department, of our DEC director, which is Department of Emergency Communications, as well as our law director, on what is going on and who is responsible for what.
Okay. And what, if anything, came out of that discussion to your understanding?
Well, it was a really long meeting, and I think a lot of people got a lot of things off of their chest. Mm-hmm. But what we realized is that MNPD had nothing to do with it. They were asked to do extra patrols of a building. It was not a request from ICE. DEC did not do anything wrong because they were not required to report that. It wasn't an interaction with ICE. Mm-hmm. And so they had nothing to do with any of the activities of THP or ICE. And the law director, I guess, is wanting to find out the names of the people that were detained and of whatever charges they have against them and where they are. I don't know what they're going to do with that information after they get that. He was told to file a public records request. I think there was some pushback on that, which I don't understand. I don't know why you wouldn't, if they tell you, hey, we're not just going to give you that information, file a FOIA, mm-hmm. right? And he said he would rather not. I don't know. It was just very strange. I'm like, just file the request.
Right. And so the Metro Council seems to be desperate to do something about, let me back up. Certain members in the Metro Council seem to be very dedicated and desperate to do something about this. And I think you said a lot right at the beginning of our conversation today when you said there's really not a lot the Metro Council has the authority to do here.
There's exactly zero that they can do about it. They can't. And giving people a false sense of security that they can, I think, is irresponsible.
The governor, Bill Lee, has stepped forward and announced, and we're trying to get the governor on the show to talk about this matter, and hopefully we will very soon. But he said that he was proud of the Tennessee Highway Patrol and the manner in which they conducted themselves. He's proud of the association that the Highway Patrol has developed with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He doesn't see bad guys here. Apparently, would you suggest that there are members of first, do you agree with the governor?
I will always stand by getting criminals off of our streets. And so, like I said earlier, whether they are legal, illegal, from the moon, I don't care. Mm-hmm. We have got to address the public safety issue that we have in this county and in this country, really. And so,
and is there not a crime problem in that part of Nashville?
There absolutely is, and that is my area. So Nolensville Road is the border, eastern border of my district, and we absolutely have gang activity there. We absolutely have. I mean, there's no question about it. In fact, I was going to send this to you earlier. There was a documentary on the History Channel about exactly this, and I had I've heard of Kurdish Pride and whatever, but there's a gang called Brown Pride that started in the early 2000s. And I've listened to the first 20 or 30 minutes of it, and it's just mind-boggling what these gangsters, or whatever you call them, it just is unbelievable, the level of violence.
And by the way, if you try to subdivide this out, right, and understand this too, the people that claim to want to protect these residents are actually hurting them. Because if you take the police presence away, the criminal element that is all interwoven into the quote-unquote non-criminal illegal aliens that are here, right? So if you separate and you say, okay, there's those individuals that came here without proper documentation that has done nothing but worked and just they're laying low and they're living their lives. I understand that that's a major part of the population. There's another part of that population that preys on those people.
I'm glad you said that, because that illegal population that is not breaking the law otherwise, they are victimized at a much higher rate than other people because they know they're not going to go to the police.
Right.
So it really is sad to see that. But the other thing that bothers me about this whole thing, we just pull back a little bit, scan back, is that the last thing I think we need to be doing is putting a bullseye on Davidson County. We're all worried right now with all the uncertainty about losing grants and this and that. And it's a very kind of small, it's millions of dollars, but in a $3.8 billion operating budget, we could literally be targeted to have all federal funding pulled. And then what?
So do you believe Metro Nashville is not a quote-unquote sanctuary city?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
We do not call ourselves that, no.
Do you believe that some on the Metro Council would consider Davidson County a de facto sanctuary city?
Probably, yes.
And that's why they're reacting the way that they are?
Maybe. I don't know. I really wish we could we could figure out what these charges are against these people so that we know who we're defending or attempting to defend. It really is sort of mind-boggling. I haven't been able to wrap my head around this level of drama around this.
It's just amazing. So by the count that I saw last night, there were 369 stops by the Tennessee Highway Patrol, which led to 94 arrests. We're not sure how many of those arrests involved legal residents versus how many of those arrests involved ICE. Do you expect that local officials will eventually get that information?
Yeah. If Homeland Security told our Director Dietz, put in a public records request,
and you'll get it.
That's my assumption. So has he done that? I don't know. Again, it sounded to me like he really didn't want to make that request. And in his letter that he shared with us, he even said, I hope that you'll share, basically to the effect of, I hope that you will share this information without me having to file an FOIA or whatever. I can't ever keep it straight. But so I don't know if he's done it or not. But if you really want the information, file the request.
Matt, would you ask the councilwoman if there's any update? I think I just did this, but I'm going to do it anyway because this person dared me to do it. Matt, would you ask the councilwoman if there's any update on the list of names they apprehended other than the few they mentioned with criminal records? I dare you to ask her that with no lead up.
I have no idea. I mean, I know as much as you do. In fact, what you just told me was information to me. I thought it was 150 the last I heard, but I didn't know even how many people had been detained. So,
so the idea here is that this was a state and federal operation and that they worked this operation absent any city involvement. And they did so on purpose. And the purpose was to prevent the city. I mean, I'm just going to tell you and this is based on what I've seen over the last 48 to 72 hours, right? If I'm a part of the state operation and I'm working in conjunction with the feds and someone in a room somewhere says, hey, should we let the city know that this is going on? I would say absolutely not. Because if you let the city know, the city's going to let the people know, and it's going to circumvent the purpose of the operation. It's very similar in nature to, and I don't want to get in the weeds on these types of things and their legality and civil libertarianism, but it's similar to having a DUI checkpoint, trying to make our roads safer, and then everybody and their brother knowing that there's a DUI checkpoint somewhere. Well, the drunks are going to stay away from the DUI checkpoint. That's the kind of the idea. When you have city officials that are going to alert those that might be the lawbreakers that there are people that want to arrest them around, they're probably going to get back in the shadows.
And I can't speak to the thought behind not including MNPD or anybody at Metro. All I know is they didn't, because I talked to MNPD this morning at length. They had no idea what was going on. They still don't know who was detained. I mean, they're finding out the way that we're finding out because they were not part of it at all.
Is there any, and I have this question unrelated to the current conversation, but I want to ask you this while we have it on the top of mind. So, and I asked you this during the break. Where are we? I know that the General Assembly passed a law capping the amount of any city council or municipality at 20 on the legislative branch, the city council in this case. And I believe Nashville sued.
Correct.
Is that still in court?
It is still in court. So they had the state court of appeals. The hearing was, I think, in March, and I watched that hearing. It was about an hour. And so now it's in the hands of those judges. So we could find out tomorrow. It could be months from now. Who knows? So the idea is if they rule in favor of the state, then the council will have to redraw district lines, and the next election cycle in 27, correct, you'll have a cap of 20. Correct. If the city prevails, then it'll stay the way it is. Correct. Let's talk to Tony, who is next up in Nashville. Tony, you're on with City Councilor Courtney Johnston. Hello, Tony.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
But out of all of this that's going on, number one, I haven't heard any one of you representatives say anything about the well-being of the citizens of Nashville. Number two is you asked a question that is so obvious, I couldn't even believe that you asked it. You asked, we need to see what these people are charged with. They are in this country illegal. What else do you have to charge them with? I sat back and listened.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the level of pushback from some of my colleagues would probably come down if we saw that the charges were highly criminal outside of just being here illegally, which I totally get and understand your point. But if we know that they are murderers and drug dealers and human traffickers and rapists and things like that, it's really hard to defend that kind of person. And so that is why I would want to know.
That makes sense, Tony? Okay, I think you got it. Tony, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Courtney Johnston just alerted me to something, and I was unaware of this. Every state doesn't have this, I don't think. But the state of Tennessee, my analogy doesn't work on the DUI checkpoints.
Right. We have to publish those.
Well, that's just stupid.
Yeah. Well,
I guess maybe. I mean, I'm a little bit against the checkpoints to begin with, so I won't argue.
Why are you don't like getting caught in them?
No, I don't drink and drive anymore.
Anymore?
No, I used to quite a bit, but I mean, I'm just being honest. But no, I think that there ought to be an affirmative action that I take that is against the law in order to be pulled over by law enforcement authorities. Otherwise, the assumption should be that I'm not breaking the law. I just,
I could argue it both ways.
I mean, I get it. But bottom line is this. In Tennessee, they have to publish them.
Fact.
And thankfully, for those that are trying to get drunks off the roadways, drunks don't look at where they publish them. Apparently, because there's a lot of drunks. Or
maybe they knew before they started drinking.
And then they forget. Who knows? All right, I know you have to go very quickly. I don't think we have time to get to any calls, but I just want you to bottom line this for me. So,
I have a few more minutes, by the way.
What, if any, activity do you expect the Metro Council to take on the matter of the Tennessee Highway Patrol addressing crime issues in Metro Nashville?
Maybe somebody will file a non-binding resolution condemning whatever, but there's nothing they can do. I mean,
except whine and hold vigils and frankly, in the case of some of them, potentially break the law. I think some of these folks want to get arrested based on some of the stuff that I'm saying.
Well, it
would
certainly
media.
make good TV.
Right?
I don't know.
Marcus, you are next out of Chapel Hill. Thank you for calling, Marcus. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm a transplant from the Northeast down near the Middle Tennessee. And I wanted to comment earlier about, and this is for Courtney as well, because you're talking about running from spiders or snakes or whatever. I don't know how Courtney could sit on that council with all those snakes and spiders sitting around her. But back to 7 types of people. Even up in the Northeast, the first clue is if they got purple hair or pink hair or green hair, that's a certain type of person. They don't even have to speak. You can tell what their beliefs and policies are just by looking at them. And if you really break things down, the 7 types of people on this planet, you'll find out it's pretty uniform. I mean, probably with 90% accuracy. But I know that Courtney's married, but I was going to ask, is she as pretty as she sounds on your radio show?
Huh. Marcus, I've been around the block a time or two, buddy, and I know a trap question when I hear it. So I'm just gonna, hey, Ken Weaver.
I just do the news, boys and girls.
Courtney Johnston is a beautiful woman inside and out. And that's the way I'll answer that question. And I don't know how she puts up with all the spiders and snakes either. I will say this. I don't know this woman in question, this counselor in question. I've seen her on TV a time or two. I've never been in the room with her. Well, I guess maybe I have because I've been to one city council meeting. But I'll say this. I've to my knowledge, to my memory, I don't know that I've ever encountered someone with pink or purple hair that wasn't a complete narcissist. Anyway, Maurice is next. Hey, Maurice.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm great,
Maurice.
Love
your show. And I graduated North Augusta High School, North Augusta, South Carolina, 87, I guess. So we're kind of from the same neck of the world.
Oh, man, that's the safe part of the I've been across that. Was that 15th Street Bridge, 13th Street Bridge? What bridge is that?
13th.
13th Street Bridge.
13th, yeah.
Yeah, I've been.
Well, I hope Tennessee's treating you as nicely as it's been treating me.
100%.
What I called today to mention was I'd like to thank Tennessee Highway Patrol and ICE for the job they've done in and around the Bell Road area, Smith Springs area, and the 41 intersection there, Murfreesboro Road intersection. It was like night and day the last few days in Nashville. No aggressive driving. No passing on the center suicide lane, no passing on the shoulder or the bicycle lane, nobody in your rearview mirror riding your bumper. People have found that little switch, that rod on their steering column, the turn signal indicator. They're signaling turns. They have slowed traffic down on the Bell Road, and I just feel so much safer.
Well, that's good.
It's like,
that's the idea, right?
They have done a great job. That road has traditionally been very dangerous the last 4 or 5 years, and I can't commend Highway Patrol enough for the job they've done there. It's really made a difference, and I support their efforts 100%.
What do I'm curious, and maybe I need to get Chief Drake on. I wish he would come on, by the way. I mean, it's difficult to get him to talk publicly about some of these things.
I have a meeting with him tomorrow. I will ask.
Ask him. I would love to speak to him. He doesn't have to answer any question he can't answer. I'm not going to, I just want to. How does he instruct the Metro Nashville Police if the city council, the majority on the city council, and the mayor's office seem to be so damned determined to make sure that all of us know that they're not looking for document. So what do you do if you encounter someone that has no license? Do you just let them drive away? I mean, you have to do something, right?
Well, to be honest, I don't 100% know the answer. I know that they would get a citation for driving without a license or driving without whatever, but I think that's probably the extent of it, because we would know if they were reporting to ICE, because that does have to be reported to the mayor. And
right.
And so we're not getting those reports. So
right now, the Metro Nashville Police Department, based on this executive order, they would have to, any communication that the police department has with Immigration and Customs Enforcement has to be reported to the mayor.
Yes. And that's been in place for
a long time.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that any interaction with the Metro Nashville Police Department that they have with illegal aliens is not being reported to ICE. Otherwise, the mayor's office would know about it.
That's my assumption, because we do not have reports of those things.
As a Metro counselor, and I understand how you are in the distinct minority in terms of how you view these things, would it not be in the best interest of citizen safety that if we are to encounter an individual that is undocumented on our city streets, based on the fact that we don't know if they're a health and safety danger on the streets themselves, and we don't know what level of danger they might be to the given community that they are in, would it not make sense that the Metro Nashville Police Department report those individuals that they believe are here illegally to the proper authorities?
I don't know that they have a way of determining if they're illegal or not. If they don't have a driver's license, I'm being told now that they do prosecute for not having a driver's license, but they don't know if they're illegal or not, is what I'm told.
Well, then how do we find out who the illegal aliens are as a local community?
Yeah, so MNPD doesn't have access to those databases or anything. So that literally is a function of ICE. It's not a function of MNPD.
And so if the MNPD is being told not to communicate with ICE on some level, are they?
I don't think they're being told to not communicate with ICE. What they're being told is if you do communicate with ICE, they want to know about it.
So I would love it if you were willing to ask Chief Drake, has he ever gotten any directive from who does Chief Drake answer to? The mayor?
I think there's a weird line there. I mean, that's who the mayor hires the chief of police, but I think once they're hired, it's kind of a wonky situation if he can fire him or not. So, but I think it's in everyone's best interest that the chief of police and the mayor get along.
Oh, sure. I just want, I would like to know the chief of police is the go-to guy in Metro Nashville in terms of public safety, right? Is that fair?
Fair.
I want to know if the chief of police has ever been told not to communicate with ICE.
I would think that, I don't know the answer to that, but I would think that the answer would be no. That has not been told to him.
I would think the answer would be yes.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I've never been.
Otherwise, why wouldn't you? If you stop somebody that you believe is a gangbanger, and our police officers. And I'm not. I'm not fussing at you, but our police officers aren't idiots. So if they encounter someone and their suspicions, if that person doesn't have any documentation and cannot speak English, is that not enough reasonable cause to suggest that perhaps we need to make sure that they're in the United States of America legally or not? I mean, I'm genuinely curious. I'm not even knocking on the Metro Nashville Police Department right now. I'm genuinely curious how local authorities translate what they see on the streets to action in terms of getting to the right place to figure out who these folks are.
Yeah. I don't know what level of probable cause they would have to have. It's a great question. I really don't know. I know that is not a function of MNPD. They have zero access to any of that information as far as a database to sort of cross-reference. And so they're going to prosecute on what they know, which is if you don't have a driver's license and you're driving, that's against the law. They're going to prosecute that. But beyond that, I don't know.
Matt, according to Scott Sapicki, I just got a call from him. If the name that the whoever they're pulling over or whatever gives the police matches someone that is in the ICE database, it will flag them on there. The computer. But
MNPD doesn't have access to that. THP might. MNPD does not have access to those databases. I know that.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm just telling you they don't.
Shouldn't they?
Your
thought. I mean, I'm not trying to. Your thought on it.
Yeah, I mean,
why wouldn't they?
Right. I don't know. I'm just. It's you're going to get me in trouble.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm just trying to figure this out.
Yeah,
I don't understand why we ask of Metro Nashville Police to keep us safe. We know for a fact that there is child sex trafficking going on in Nashville. There's human trafficking that goes on in Nashville. There's drug trafficking, and a lot of the people that are engaged in that trafficking are not here legally. So I just want to give all the tools in the toolbox that we can.
Yeah, I think it's a great conversation to have with Chief Drake and why it is that we don't have that. What I'm told, we do not have access to those databases. That is not a function of the Metro Nashville Police Department. To Representative Sapicki's point, THP probably does. I don't know. Although THP, when they even did their stuff over the weekend, they asked ICE to be there with them, which is different. So maybe THP doesn't, but they can work together. I don't know. And
I do know that the state created not just an ability, but an obligation to it, knowing. And if you have someone that is known to you to be here illegal, and this is where a lot of the communities in America, they skate around the edges of the law, right? So the state of Tennessee passes a law saying, well, if you know that you have an illegal alien in front of you, you have to turn that person over. It is a requirement to inform. But the idea of, well, if the Metro Nashville doesn't have the ability to know, then they can't turn a person. They can't presume based on an inability to speak the language or whatever.
Okay, so I'm just being told if you get arrested, the sheriff's department sends the information to ICE. MNPD does not.
And Metro Nashville turns their folks over to the sheriff's department, right?
When you get arrested, yes.
Yeah.
They do.
There's the chain of command.
Yeah,
that makes
sheriff's
sense.
department does the processing. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, that makes me feel a little better. It's 10 until the top of the hour. Courtney, thank you for your time. You spent 20 extra minutes with us, and I'm thanking you for it.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. Tell your friends over at the council. All are invited. Everybody's invited. Just bring them all over, all 40 of them.
How fun would that be?
That would be a blast.
Or maybe you should just come sit through one of our meetings.
I'm on the way. I'm coming. You know what? Was it this coming Tuesday or next Tuesday?
No, it's the first and third Tuesday. So
whatever that is.
We just had it 2 days ago, so 2 weeks.
I bet y'all got a fancy meeting room too, don't you?
Not really, but it's a room.
Okay, I'll come. I'll sit in the back and I'll wave at Jenny. I'll know her from her purple hair.
She'll probably wave back.
You think? A little one finger salute.
I was gonna say it may not be with all 5 fingers,
right.
but okay.